I get these little, like, crushes on topics. Like, I become obsessed with topics. And then I just want to learn everything about it. And that's how I got interested in the fight game. It's just wanting to know more about these guys. What's their story, and what happens to them when that's over.
It's a good thing.
Car salesmanship?
Yeah, well, if you can still count. Right? If you can still remember people's names, it's actually really, really tragic, because it's not just the guys who fight, it's a lot of football guys.
Oh, yeah.
Are having these same problems where they're suffering from just debilitating depression, and they lose all their money. They're not able to maintain any kind of friendships because they're so, their memory, is so bad that they don't.
Enough physical trauma.
Exactly. And there's nothing in place to help them. Just in the same way that there's no farm for old porn stars. You don't, because you have like the.
Well, it's kind of like the military then.
Yeah, but the military supposedly takes care of you. I mean, I remember my grandfather, was in the war, and he had all kinds of amazing veterans coverage and all this all the way up to the end of his life. So, they at least.
And if you get wounded and are unable to work in the military, you're taken care of. You get wounded and unable to work in the boxing ring,
there's nothing for you. There is nothing for you. And there's also, I think, an economic aspect to it. Because you get these young kids, and they're coming out of broken homes. They got no money. They got no prospects. They're uneducated. Well, I can fuck or I can fight. Those are the two things that pretty much anybody can do. And so what is the economic effect on consent? Are you really consenting if that's really your only option?
If those are your only options.
That's a tough question, and I don't have an answer. I'm not bringing it up saying, and by the way, I've discovered...
Well, you feel like you have nothing to lose, so...
Exactly.
You just sell it.
Why? But then, you wind up, you're 35 years old, you can barely walk, you're addicted to pain medicine, you got no prospects, and you can't remember things from minute to minute. It's kind of a grim prospect. So, I don't know, but it certainly makes for good noir. Noir,
not here to solve the problems,
noir.
here to write books about it.
Bleak and dark. But, Segue-O-Rama, this new book, new series that I'm working on is a lot more lighthearted. It's not as hard-boiled, it's not as tough, it's not as dark, it's not as noirish. It's more comedic. It still has hard-boiled tropes. It still kind of plays to those hard-boiled tropes. But it's comedic. It's humorous. It has a more lighthearted, sexy kind of feel to it.
Well, I liked the idea that you clearly have, this lesbian chick who's sort of, is your central character.
Well, and the thing is that she is, in a lot of ways, she is the cliche of hard-boiled fiction. The tough, two-fisted, smart talking detective who gets all the chicks, except she happens to have a vagina. So it seemed fun. And Butch Fatale.
Right.
How can you not write it? You have to. You have to. So
there is a question from the chat room. Is your work sold in bookstores or only online?
Yes, it is sold in a lot of bookstores. We just lost our wonderful mystery bookstore. Here in Los Angeles, they closed recently. It was just a tragedy.
Which one?
But the mystery bookstore in Westwood, which was just dynamite. But there's a couple of others that are still really good. And Barnes & Noble, regular mall type of bookstores have the hard-boiled the hard case crime stuff. But Butch Fatale is an online only series. So that's kind of
only an ebook.
Only an ebook. But, the thing that is great about the ebook format for this, is that this is kind of a niche story. It's hard-boiled lesbian erotica. It's probably not going to be, a bestseller. It's sort of a small audience, but it's something that I've wanted to do for years. And the ebook format just gave me this venue, to give a home to a little toy truck project that I've been wanting to do for years.
That's great. That's great. So, the title is Butch Fatale.
Well, that's the title of the series.
Is the series.
Yes.
And then this particular one is the Double D Double Cross.
Double D Double Cross, yes.
Right?
Which is just what you think. Truth and advertising, ladies and gentlemen. It does what it says on the tin.
See, that's a good thing. Do you want to read us an excerpt
Sure,
from it?
why
Or
not?
do you want to
I would be happy.
tell us other stuff?
You want to hear a story?
Tell us a story. Oh, we like dirty stories. That's all right.
Now would be a good time to put the kids to bed. When the tattooed tomato walked into my shabby Echo Park office, I had no idea if she was going to kiss me or slap me. I was hoping for the former, but betting on the latter. Her name was Diversity. Back when we first met, she'd been this waifish hippie chick fresh out of UC Berkeley, a second-generation granola dyke whose homespun organic hemp exterior hit a multi-O dynamo that wouldn't quit. We had 3 tempestuous months together before it ended badly. Can't say I was surprised. She was the type who got all juicy over the idea of slumming with a rough-and-tumble blue-collar butch like me, but she couldn't stop lecturing me about how I was internalizing patriarchal oppression because I cut my hair like Tony Curtis. In the years since we parted ways, I hadn't changed all that much. I've been 5'10" ever since I was 15 and walk around a fit 150. Muscular arms, broad shoulders, and big solid tits that I gave up hiding years ago. Never been pretty, but I've grown into handsome pretty well. Still cutting my hair like Tony Curtis. Diversity, on the other hand, well, she was something else. She'd gone from woman with a Y to all woman and then some. She'd put on 20 curvy pounds, the kind of curves that don't come from tofu and lentils. There was candy apple gloss on her wide, expressive mouth and a labret piercing through her lower lip. Her once waist-length, dirty blonde hair had been chopped into a bob, bleached Jean Harlow platinum, and coiffed into retro curls, anchored behind her left ear with a glittery black orchid. The lonely Labrys tattoo on her right wrist had multiplied into full sleeves of girly pinups and black cats, dice and snakes and flaming hearts. Hey, you printed this out and we got a missing page. How do you like that?
Maybe I
In the wrong order, maybe? Well, I think you maybe will just have that as a little teaser, and if you would like to have the rest,
Wow.
it is available for free.
You can't end on a better sentence than dice and snakes and flaming hearts.
Dice and snakes. Oh, no,
cow.
wait. I believe we have it. We are just slightly out of order here.
We've been accused of that before.
Yes, that's true.
Yes. No problem. Do you people mind a little shuffle here? We can go a little further into it if you'd like. All right. Yes. Take two. She was delicately balanced on strappy wedge heels and squeezed into tiny high-waisted denim shorts that covered the legal minimum of her sturdy tattooed legs and ass. Her tissue-thin vintage blouse was tied in a knot just below her chubby cupcake tits. She'd obviously rethought her stance on the oppressive nature of traditional gender roles, but she hadn't given up all the principles of her old-school feminist upbringing. She still didn't wear a bra. "Hello, Butch," she said, slinking towards my cluttered desk with a calculated switch and sway that wasn't doing my ailing air conditioning any favors. "Diversity," I replied, displaying my natural aptitude for witty repartee. "You look, wow." "It's Diva now," she said, fishing a glossy postcard out of her Kislock purse and setting it on my desk. I looked down at the postcard. It advertised a burlesque show starring Miss Diva Derringer. There was Diversity, front and center, wearing a red cowboy hat and little else. "I'm in town for a few weeks with my burlesque troupe," she continued. "I thought you might like to come and see the show. I can put you on the guest list." She looked up at me, trouble in her eyes. "You know, if you're not busy." By that time, I had figured out that she probably wasn't going to slap me. I figured I'd see if she was interested in the other option. "I'm not busy right now," I said, holding her gaze as I stood up and came around to the front of the desk. "No?" She arched a slender, delicately plucked eyebrow. "What about—" She gestured at the paperwork on my desk with a coy smile. "It can wait," I told her, snaking one arm around her narrow waist and using the other to sweep everything off the surface of the desk. I kissed her, cupping her ample ass in both hands and lifting her up onto the desk. Her chunky shoes thumped to the carpet as she wrapped her legs around my waist and pulled me in closer, giving it back in spades. Her tattooed skin smelled like raw sugar and fresh girl sweat. No more patchouli. I never wanted to stop kissing her. But eventually, I needed more. In breathless seconds, I had her bent over with those tiny shorts around her ankles. I knelt down behind her, hungry, but wanting a moment to enjoy the scenery. In that moment, her ass was my whole world. Voluptuous, pear-shaped cheeks that begged to be slapped. The full pink lips peeking out between them begged for something else. I was happy to oblige. I spread her wide and buried my face, tongue stretching to tease her fat clit from behind. She let out a gasp that swiftly melted into a happy purr as I slid my tongue slowly backwards, through her slick folds and over the salty, hairless skin that led back to her musky asshole. I started working her clit in earnest with my middle finger, then slid my thumb into her pussy, homing in on her G-spot while circling her back door with my tongue, listening to her body, finding her rhythm, letting muscle memory guide me back in time. Even after all those years, I still remembered what she liked. Feeling her build up to that first orgasm was like watching a favorite scene in an old movie. First, her strong, meaty thighs started to tense up, just like they used to. Then she went up on the balls of her bare feet, while the hidden muscles inside her thickened and tightened around my thumb. She went from kittenish sighs to deep, throaty grunts. Look at this again with the missing page. An emphatic profanity. Then that rapid butterfly flutter traveled through her pussy like a miniature thunderstorm as the rest of her body went pliant and boneless against me. I knew from experience that this was far from the end of the show. She was just getting warmed up. As for me, you better believe I was ready to go the distance. In the pulp novels, the private dick always keeps a gat in his desk drawer. I keep my iron in a gun safe, keyed to my fingerprint, but I do keep an extra strap-on in the desk drawer, you know, for emergencies. I pinked up her ass and thighs with a couple of healthy slaps, then dropped my jeans, got the rig strapped around my hips, and rolled a condom down the length of the silicone shaft. You probably think that's funny, don't you? Using a rubber on a dildo. But experience has taught me that unless you crack open a brand new package right in front of them, a lot of women won't let you use a sex toy bra. They don't know where it's been. And let me tell you, mine have been around. She looked over her shoulder at the dildo and then up at me with wide eyes and flushed cheeks. What? I asked. Don't tell me you still think that dildo is a tool of the evil patriarchal oppressors. A cute little giggle bubbled out of her. Shut up and fuck me, Butch. Who was I to argue? I did what the lady asked. I started slow, but she was having none of that. She bucked with her own demanding rhythm, daring me to keep up. Not to be outdone, I sucked in a deep breath and gripped her plush, fleshy hips and went at her double time. She responded by jacking her clit like Eddie Van Halen ripping a guitar solo. Sweat was everywhere, running into my eyes and down between my tits, pooling in the hollow between Diva's shoulder blades. Tiny droplets flew from her tangled hair. Her nipples were drawing crazy spirograph circles of sweat on my desk with every thrust. The multi-O dynamo was working at optimum capacity. But the friction of the harness strap against my clit was making me crazy, and I just about had enough of being chivalrous. She was ahead by 3 when I stopped counting. It's time for a little quid pro fucking quo. I tore off the harness and tossed it aside, gripping a handful of platinum curls and guiding Diva's head down to my aching cunt. She didn't need instructions. She just spread the thick black hair with her thumbs and got to work. She started off teasing with gentle sucking and nibbling, torturing me for a few excruciating minutes before settling to the swift side-to-side rhythm that she knew I needed. She obviously remembered me, too. I leaned back against the desk and let my legs fall open a little wider, losing myself in the building sensation. That's when somebody rang the downstairs buzzer. Diva looked up at me with questioning eyes. My assistant will handle it, I told her. I was nearly there when there was a sheepish knock on my office door. Butch? It was Penny Park, my trusty Femme Friday. God damn it, I said, I'm not in. It's work. She lowered her voice, barely audible through the closed door. Work. I swore between clenched teeth. I hadn't seen a paycheck for so long I'd forgotten what went on the left side of the decimal point. 5 minutes, Penny. I lifted Diva off her knees and kissed my juices from her mouth. We'll finish this later. She looked up at me with smoldering, mascara-smeared eyes. My email's on the postcard, she said. Use it. We swiftly sorted out our inside-out clothing and got everything buttoned and zipped. After another lingering kiss, I hustled her out the back door with one last slap on the ass. I picked up all the scattered papers and used them to cover the sweat smears on my desk as best I could. I ran a comb through my hair, fixed my collar, then sat down behind my desk, trying to remember how to look professional. Send the client in, Penny. That's when I noticed that I'd left the sticky, well-used strap-on in the middle of the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, Butch Fatale. A little bumpy in the ride, but we got there.
We got there.
We got
Well,
there.
I want to be gay now.
I want to be gay now.
You know?
That's the right sofa to say that.
The first orgasm, I'm like, hello.
Oh my. Oh my. But, you know,
That's wonderful.
thank you so much. And, you know, this has really been just one of those labors of love. You know, this is one of those projects that I've had. I mean, I was 12 years. You know, I've wanted to do this. And, you know, who would publish this? You know, tiny, small press maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but now, you know, I'm able to just kind of cut out the middleman and,
Right.
you know,
Just
here's,
offer it up.
yeah, offer it up. You know,
That's fantastic.
thank you. Thank you. And, you know, it's funny, as, you know, is my want in life, you know, Butch is kind of omnivorous in her sexual proclivities. She tends to like a variety of different types of women, you know. And one of the things I had the most fun with, you know, in this is so often you read erotica and everybody's the same, you know, or they're similar, you know, or like, you know, the reader, you know, is wanting to have some kind of connection with a certain type, and so you're kind of feeding that type, you know. But with this, I really wanted to not just vary the, you know, like a blonde, a brunette, a redhead, but like actually vary the nature of the sexual encounters. You know, so the different types of people, different types of bodies, different types of, you know, what gets them off. You know, because that's what's interesting to me as a writer, you know, is variety.